It's late November 1956, deep in southern India, near a town called Arialur. A heavy downpour has compromised a railway bridge. A passenger train passes over it. The tracks give way. Over 140 lives are loosed in the wreckage. Across the country in New Delhi, the nation's railway minister doesn't call a press conference to deflect the blame. He doesn't issue a statement pointing fingers at the local maintenance engineers or the weather. Instead, he sits at his desk and typed a letter to Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. It is his unconditional resignation. That man was Lal Bahadur Shastri. He wrote that he could not, in good conscience, retain his post while the citizens under his care suffered. He resigned to uphold what he called constitutional propriety. Now, let's fast forward to the present day. Think about any major public crisis you have seen in the headline recently. A critical national database leaks millions of private records. A massive public infrastructure project collapses. A centralized national examination system affecting the future of millions of young students is compromised by security breaches. What is the standard political playbook today? It is almost the exact opposite of Shastri's. The modern ministers Dixon. They launch a committee. They deploy public relation teams to frame the crisis as a technical glitch or an isolated incident. They wait out the 72 hours news cycle. From Washington to London, from Tokyo to New Delhi, the voluntary moral resignation is dead. Today, we are diving into a profound shift in global governance. How did the definition of political responsibility changes so completely over the last half century? And more importantly, was that old tradition of stepping down actually a better way to run a country, or was it just an elegant distraction from the real problems? To understand how we got here, we have to look back at the system of governance many modern democracies inherited, the Westminster tradition. For generations, this system relied on a very specific, almost gentlemanly doctrine, individual ministerial responsibility. The concept was simple: the minister is the human avatar of the department. If the department fails, the minister carries the moral burden. It didn't matter if the minister had no personal knowledge of the specific mistake made by a low level clerk 3 states away. The buck stopped at the top. Even as recently as 1999, we saw the final sunset of this tradition. When a tragic train collision occurred in Gaisal, India, the political head at the time, Nitish Kumar, stepped down immediately, citing moral responsibility. It was a cultural ritual. It was a way for the state to tell public, we see your pain and someone is paying a price for it. But over the last 25 years, a new doctrine has quietly but completely erased the old rulebook. Let's call it modern political realism. In our hyper-connected 24/7 digital public square, political strategists no longer view resignation as a noble moral act. They view it as a catastrophic tactical error. In modern realistic view, a resignation is a blood sacrifice that doesn't satisfy the public or opposition, it merely emboldens them. If a minister steps down under pressure, it breaks the party's narrative of strength. It creates a blood in the war effect, inviting a cascade of further demands. So the modern strategist advises their leader never retreat, protect the personnel, institutionalize the defense, and treat the crisis as a communication problem to be managed, not a moral failure to be expiated. It is very easy to look at this shift and feel a sense of cynicism. We look back at leaders like Lal Bahadur Shastri with a deep nostalgia, wishing for an era of greater political honor. But we have to step back from the emotion and ask a hard, structural question. Does a symbolic resignation actually fix a broken public institution? Or does it just give us a temporary emotional release valve while leaving the underlying root entirely untouched? Think about the mechanics of what happened when a high profile politician resigns. The news cycle instantly explodes. The conversation shifts entirely from systemic repair to political theatre. The media spends weeks analyzing who the next minister will be, what political faction they represent, and who won or lose the news cycle. Meanwhile, look at what happens inside the department itself. The career bureaucrats remain at their desk. The flawed database software is still running. The outdated infrastructure is still standing. The compromised systemic loopholes remain wide open. The political heads has changed, but the machinery is identical. In a strange way, the old tradition of moral resignation allowed the system to hide behind a single human sacrifice. The modern realist approach argues that keeping the minister in place provides the exact administrative continuity required to fix complex problems. It separates the emotional anger of a public sphere from cold, slow, logistical realities of technical reform. It tells the minister, you broke it or broke under your watch. Now you sit in that chair and fix it. But this modern realist approach carries an extraordinary existential risk for democracies. When an administration completely refuses to offer any symbolic gesture of accountability, it creates an impression of an unfeeling, untouchable state apparatus. When citizens, especially young people looking at broken educational or economic systems, see immense systemic failure met with cold, clinical public relation language, a deep alienation sets in. The public begin to feel that the democratic contract is broken. They feel that the state is no longer an institution built to serve them, but a corporate entity built to protect itself. Ultimately, the evolution of political responsibility over the last half century shows us that we have traded an era of constitutional propriety for an era of hyper optimized crisis management. While the old symbolic resignation rarely fixed the underlying machinery of state, the complete death of a moral resignation has left our public discourse poorer. It has stripped the governance of its humanity. The challenge for the modern world is not simply survive the media storm through stubbornness, but to prove that institutional continuity can deliver rapid, transparent, and flawless competence. Because without that competence, the machinery of state, no matter how well defended, will eventually lose the only thing that keeps it running public trust. Thanks for listening.